Single dad struggled alone for 5 years after his pilot wife was declared killed in action. He raised their daughter, worked as a janitor, and mourned daily. When their flight's captain suddenly collapsed from a heart attack, military F-22 fighters scrambled as escort. Air Force sensors detected a call sign from the unconscious female pilot, Raven, officially declared dead 5 years ago. The single dad looked at the pilot's face as medics rushed her past. His dead wife was alive. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. The afternoon sun streamed through the massive glass windows of Gate 14 at San Francisco International Airport. Marcus Chen sat in the far corner of the business class lounge with his 7-year-old daughter Lily. He was 35 years old, with tired eyes and calloused hands that spoke of hard work. He wore a faded jacket with a small tear on the sleeve. His jeans were clean but obviously old, with worn patches at the knees. Lily sat beside him, her small legs swinging because they did not quite reach the floor. She wore a simple purple dress that Marcus had bought from a thrift store. Her backpack was decorated with hand-drawn flowers, clearly homemade rather than store-bought. Marcus pulled out sandwiches he had packed that morning. Peanut butter and jelly on wheat bread, wrapped carefully in aluminum foil. He handed one to Lily along with an apple. Across the lounge, Victoria Blackwood adjusted the diamond bracelet on her wrist. She was 48 years old, founder of a Silicon Valley startup worth $500 million. Her suit was designer, her shoes were Louboutin, her handbag cost more than some people earned in a year. Victoria's sharp eyes landed on Marcus and Lily. Her perfectly shaped eyebrows rose with obvious distaste. She leaned toward her assistant Jennifer and whispered, though not quietly enough. They really let anyone into business class these days. Look at those clothes. That jacket has a hole in it. And homemade sandwiches. How embarrassing. This is why standards have dropped. Jennifer looked uncomfortable but said nothing. You did not contradict Victoria Blackwood if you valued your job. Marcus heard every word. His jaw tightened imperceptibly. A muscle twitched in his cheek. But he said nothing. He simply continued helping Lily with her sandwich, smiling at her gently. Daddy, are we really going to see the special doctor? Lily asked softly, her big brown eyes looking up at him with complete trust. Yes, sweetheart. The doctor in Boston is one of the best in the country. She will help you get better. Lily had been born with a severe kidney condition called nephrotic syndrome. It caused her body to lose protein and retain dangerous amounts of fluid. She tired easily, swelled painfully, and was constantly sick. The specialist in Boston, Dr. Amanda Torres, was one of only a handful of nephrologists in the United States with expertise in Lily's particular case. Marcus had saved for 3 years to afford this trip. He worked 7 days a week as a janitor at a corporate office building, cleaning floors and bathrooms late into the night. Every extra dollar went into savings for Lily's medical care. He had used every frequent flyer mile he had accumulated over years to upgrade their tickets so Lily would be comfortable during the cross-country flight. At the boarding gate, Marcus struggled with their carry-on bags. Lily's medical equipment made everything heavier. Medications that required specific storage, medical records, a portable blood pressure monitor. He fumbled with the boarding passes while trying to keep Lily close and manage the heavy luggage. He dropped Lily's backpack and had to set everything down to pick it up. His face flushed with embarrassment as other passengers waited impatiently. Victoria walked past at that exact moment, speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. Some people simply do not know how to travel. They slow down everyone who actually belongs here. Standards have dropped so dramatically. Marcus felt his face grow warm with embarrassment and anger. But he said nothing. He gathered their bags, took Lily's small hand in his, and boarded the plane with quiet dignity. On the aircraft, Marcus helped Lily into seat 22C, a window seat so she could watch the clouds. He carefully stowed their luggage and arranged Lily's medications in the seat pocket. He made sure her seatbelt was snug but not too tight around her swollen abdomen. Victoria ended up in seat 18B, just 4 rows ahead. She settled in with theatrical sighs, accepted champagne from the flight attendant, and opened her tablet. But she could not resist continuing her commentary to Jennifer beside her. First time in business class, obviously. That man probably does not even understand the amenities. And bringing a sick child into business class. It really diminishes the experience for those of us who pay full price. A flight attendant named Carlos Rodriguez approached Marcus's row. He was 28 years old with kind eyes and a genuine smile. "Can I help you with anything, sir?" Carlos asked warmly. "Thank you," Marcus said quietly. "My daughter has a kidney condition. If there is any emergency, her medications are in this blue bag. There are instructions inside." Carlos nodded seriously. "I will make note of that. Anything else you need?" "We are fine. Thank you for your kindness." Marcus did not elaborate on his own story. He did not mention that 5 years ago, his wife Captain Sarah Chen had been declared killed in action during a classified military operation. He did not mention that Sarah had been one of the most skilled fighter pilots in the United States Air Force, call sign Raven. He did not mention that the government had held an official funeral with a flag-draped coffin. That Sarah's name was engraved on the National Memorial Wall. That her squadron had flown the missing man formation over her memorial service. He did not mention that he had raised Lily completely alone for 5 years, believing his wife was dead, mourning her every single day, struggling to be both mother and father to their daughter. What Marcus did not know, what no one knew, was that Sarah Chen was very much alive. 5 years ago, Captain Sarah Chen had been flying a highly classified deep reconnaissance mission over contested territory in the South China Sea. The mission was completely dark, no official record, no flight plan, no acknowledgement it ever happened. Advanced surface-to-air missiles had locked onto her F-22 Raptor. She had deployed every countermeasure, executed every evasive maneuver, pushed her aircraft beyond its limits. But there had been too many missiles. One had detonated close enough that shrapnel catastrophically damaged her aircraft. She had lost hydraulics, lost an engine, and her plane had entered an uncontrolled descent. She had ejected at 600 feet above the water, dangerously low. Her parachute had barely deployed before she hit the ocean hard. The impact had knocked her unconscious. She had spent 4 horrific days floating in the South China Sea, fighting hypothermia and dehydration, rationing the tiny emergency supplies in her survival vest. On the 4th day, a Chinese military vessel had found her. Not rescued, captured. They had taken her to a secret facility. Interrogated her. Demanded information about U.S. military capabilities, flight systems, tactical procedures. Sarah had given them nothing. Her training had been extensive. She had endured weeks of psychological torture, sleep deprivation, isolation, threats. But she had told them nothing of value. After 6 months, through a covert prisoner exchange that would never be acknowledged publicly, she had been released to U.S. forces in a neutral location. By the time she returned to American soil, the government faced an impossible situation. Sarah had been officially declared killed in action. There had been a funeral. Her name was on the memorial wall. Her husband had collected death benefits. Her life insurance had been paid out. And the mission itself was so highly classified that acknowledging Sarah had survived would create a massive diplomatic incident with China. Senior military officials had come to Sarah with a devastating proposal. She could return to her family, but doing so would compromise national security. The mission would be exposed. Intelligence assets would be burned. Lives would be at risk. Or she could accept a new identity and disappear. Allow her family to continue believing she was dead. The government would provide financial support, a new life, complete anonymity. Sarah had asked for one thing: let me see them. Just once, from a distance. Let me see that they are okay. They had arranged it. Sarah had watched from across a park as Marcus pushed 3-year-old Lily on a swing. She had seen Marcus's grief in the way he moved. She had seen Lily laughing despite everything. And Sarah had made her choice. "Give me the new identity," she had said, tears streaming down her face. "Keep them safe. That is all that matters." They had given her a new name, new documents, a new life. She had moved to a small apartment in San Diego. She had taken a job as a commercial pilot for a regional airline, using her flight skills under her new identity, Captain Rebecca Morrison. For 5 years, she had flown routine commercial flights. For 5 years, she had lived alone, aching for her family every single day. For 5 years, she had secretly monitored Marcus and Lily from afar, making sure they were okay, never making contact. She had cried herself to sleep countless nights, looking at the only photo she had kept, a picture of her wedding day, Marcus smiling beside her. But she had stayed away. For their safety, for national security. For a mission that had cost her everything. Today, by pure coincidence, Captain Rebecca Morrison was piloting United Flight 1847 from San Francisco to Boston. The same flight Marcus and Lily were on. The flight attendants began the safety demonstration. Marcus watched carefully, always cautious, always protective of Lily. Lily played with a small stuffed cat that Marcus had given her for her birthday. It was worn and faded, one ear sewn back on. She had named it Whiskers. "Daddy, will the doctor be able to fix me?" Lily asked. Marcus looked at his daughter, his heart aching. "The doctor is going to try very hard, sweetheart. She is one of the smartest doctors in the whole country. I wish Mommy was here. Do you think Mommy can see me from heaven?" Marcus felt tears threatening but pushed them back. "I know she can, baby. And I know she is so proud of you. You are the bravest little girl in the whole world. I miss her, Daddy. I miss her too, sweetheart. Every single day." The plane taxied to the runway. The engines roared. The aircraft accelerated and lifted gracefully into the clear California sky. Lily pressed her face to the window, watching San Francisco shrink below. Marcus pointed out landmarks, the Golden Gate Bridge, the bay, the distant mountains. Everything seemed completely normal. For the first hour, the flight was smooth. The aircraft climbed to 37,000 feet and settled into steady flight. The seatbelt sign turned off. Flight attendants began beverage service. Marcus read Lily a story, keeping his voice soothing. Gradually, Lily fell asleep against his shoulder, her breathing soft and steady. In the cockpit, Captain Rebecca Morrison, formerly Sarah Chen, was conducting what appeared to be a routine flight. But nothing about this flight was routine for her. When she had reviewed the passenger manifest before departure, she had seen the names, Marcus Chen and Lily Chen. Her heart had stopped. Her hands had trembled so violently she had nearly dropped the clipboard. Her husband, her daughter on her flight. She had stood in the cockpit for a full minute, struggling to breathe, fighting the overwhelming urge to run into the cabin, to see them, to hold them. But she could not. She absolutely could not. It would destroy everything. It would put them in danger. It would compromise national security. So she had taken deep breaths, forced her hands to stop shaking, and prepared for the flight like a professional. First Officer David Park sat in the right seat beside her. He was 32 years old, competent and experienced. "You okay, Captain?" David had asked, noticing her pallor. "You look like you have seen a ghost." "I am fine," Sarah had lied. "Just a headache, nothing serious." For the first hour, Sarah had flown mechanically, her mind barely focused. Part of her consciousness was in the cabin behind her, 4 rows back, where Marcus and Lily sat. Her family. The people she loved more than anything in the entire world. The people who thought she was dead. Then, without warning, Sarah felt a sharp stabbing pain in her chest. The pain was sudden and intense, radiating down her left arm. She tried to ignore it. Probably just stress. Probably just the emotional shock of having her family on board. But the pain grew rapidly worse. It spread across her chest like a crushing weight. Her vision blurred at the edges. Cold sweat broke out on her forehead. The months of torture in captivity had done damage to her body that doctors had warned about. Stress-induced cardiomyopathy, weakened heart muscle, susceptibility to cardiac events. She was having a heart attack. A severe one. "David," she gasped, her voice tight with pain. "Something is wrong. Chest pain, very bad." David looked at her with immediate alarm. "Captain Morrison." "I think, heart attack," Sarah managed to say. "You need to." But before she could finish the sentence, her vision went completely black. Her eyes rolled back. Her body went limp and she slumped forward against the controls. The aircraft lurched violently. Alarms began to sound. The instrument panel lit up with warning lights. David grabbed the controls desperately, pulling back hard, fighting against Sarah's weight on the captain's yoke. "Mayday, mayday, mayday." David transmitted, his voice tight with fear. United 1847, medical emergency in cockpit. Captain is unconscious. Possible cardiac arrest. Requesting immediate emergency assistance. Air traffic control responded instantly. United 1847, roger your mayday. What is your aircraft status? David struggled to pull Sarah back into her seat while maintaining control. "I have control of the aircraft. But I need help. I have never landed a 777 as pilot in command. I have 198 souls on board." In the cabin, passengers noticed immediately that something was terribly wrong. The violent lurch, the sudden alarm, the seatbelt sign illuminating with a sharp chime. Carlos grabbed the PA microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing a medical emergency in the cockpit. Please return to your seats immediately and fasten your seatbelts. We will be making an emergency landing. Please remain calm." The cabin erupted in frightened voices. People grabbed phones. Children started crying. Victoria Blackwood turned pale, gripping her armrests. "This cannot be happening. We are going to die because of some incompetent pilot." Marcus was instantly alert. Lily had woken up, frightened. He pulled her close protectively. "Daddy, what is happening?" "The pilot is sick, sweetheart. But everything will be okay. I promise." But Marcus's mind was racing. Medical emergency in the cockpit, captain unconscious. First officer clearly panicking based on the aircraft's erratic movements. This was very bad. Carlos rushed to the cockpit. He entered the security code and stepped inside. He saw Captain Morrison slumped unconscious, her face gray and covered with sweat. "Is there anything I can do?" Carlos asked urgently. David looked at him with desperate, terrified eyes. "Is there a pilot on this aircraft? Any pilot at all? Military, private, anything, anyone with flight experience?" Carlos's mind raced through the passenger manifest. Nothing. No pilots listed. "I will check," Carlos said. He ran back to the cabin and grabbed the PA microphone with shaking hands. "Ladies and gentlemen, if there is anyone on board with any flight experience of any kind, please identify yourself to a flight attendant immediately. We desperately need assistance in the cockpit." The cabin fell silent. Everyone looked around nervously. No one moved. No one raised their hand. Marcus sat frozen. He had no flight experience. He was just a janitor. He could not help with this. But his mind went to Sarah. His wife, the brilliant pilot. If only she were here. She would know exactly what to do. She could save everyone. Tears burned in his eyes. He missed her so desperately in that moment. In the cockpit, David was struggling desperately. He needed to descend immediately. He needed to divert to the nearest airport. He needed to run emergency checklists. And he had to do it all alone, with 198 terrified people depending on him. His hands were shaking uncontrollably. Sweat poured down his face. He could feel panic overwhelming him. "I cannot do this," he whispered. "I am going to kill everyone." He reached for Captain Morrison, trying to move her completely out of the way. As he shifted her weight, her hand fell against the radio panel, accidentally keying the microphone. Her body slumped further, her weight pressing against the transmit button. And in that moment, purely by accident, the aircraft's emergency locator transmitter activated, broadcasting on the military guard frequency, 121.5 MHz. At Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, controllers monitoring the emergency frequency heard a carrier signal. A transmission, but no voice. Then, through the static, they heard something. Faint but distinct. Breathing. Labored, struggling breathing. One controller, Master Sergeant Tom Williams, leaned closer to his screen. Something about that breathing pattern was familiar. He had years of experience monitoring emergency frequencies. He pulled up the flight's information. United 1847. Boeing 777. Squawking 7700, the Universal Emergency Code. Then he did something unusual. He ran an audio analysis on the breathing pattern, comparing it to archived military biometric data. Fighter pilots' breathing patterns were recorded and stored for identification purposes. It was a security protocol that few people knew about. The computer began searching through thousands of archived voice and breathing patterns. Suddenly, the screen flashed red. Match found. Tom's eyes widened in shock. It was impossible. Absolutely impossible. The biometric match was for Captain Sarah Chen. Call sign, Raven. Status, killed in action. Date of death, March 17, 2019. Tom grabbed the phone to his supervisor, Colonel Patricia Reeves. "Colonel, you need to see this right now. I am getting a biometric match on the guard frequency from a commercial flight declaring an emergency. The match is for Captain Sarah Chen, call sign Raven." There was a long pause. "That is impossible, Sergeant. Raven was killed 5 years ago. I was at her funeral." "I know, ma'am. But the biometric analysis is showing a positive match. Voice print, breathing pattern, everything." Colonel Reeves rushed to the monitoring station. She looked at the data herself. The match was undeniable. "Run full authentication protocols," she ordered. "Cross-reference with every database we have. If this is some kind of hoax or mistake, I want to know immediately." They ran every check. Voice analysis comparing the breathing pattern to archived recordings from Sarah's training and combat missions, biometric markers, unique physiological signatures. Every single check came back positive. Perfect match. Colonel Reeves picked up the radio handset with shaking hands. She transmitted on the guard frequency. "Raven, this is Nellis Tower Actual. If you can hear me, respond immediately. Raven, authenticate." In the cockpit of United 1847, Sarah was barely conscious. The heart attack had not killed her, but she was drifting in and out of awareness. She could hear voices as if from very far away. She heard her call sign. Raven. A name she had not heard in 5 years. With enormous effort, she moved her hand to her chest. She tapped twice against her sternum, a signal. Then twice more, Morse code 4R. In the monitoring station, Tom was watching the audio feed carefully. "Colonel, I am detecting rhythmic tapping. Pattern consistent with Morse code. Letter R." Colonel Reeves felt chills run down her spine. "Scramble F-22s immediately, full combat air patrol." I want visual confirmation. And I want every senior officer on this base in my office in 5 minutes. This is beyond classified. Within minutes, 2 F-22 Raptors screamed into the sky from Nellis, their powerful engines tearing through the desert air. They climbed rapidly to 37,000 feet and located United 1847 easily on their radar. The lead pilot was Major Lisa Trent, callsign Phantom. She had flown with Sarah Chen 6 years ago. They had been friends. Lisa had cried at Sarah's funeral. United 1847, this is Phantom Flight on your wing for escort. We are here to assist, Lisa transmitted on the commercial frequency. David nearly sobbed with relief seeing the F-22s appear outside his window. Phantom Flight, thank God. I have an incapacitated captain. I need guidance desperately. Copy that, United 1847. We will talk you through this. You are not alone. But Lisa's mind was reeling. She had been briefed on the biometric match. She had been told it was impossible but apparently true. Raven was alive. Her friend who she had mourned for 5 years was somehow on that commercial flight. Lisa switched to the military frequency. Nellis, Phantom Lead. I have visual on United 1847. Requesting permission to attempt direct communication with Raven. Phantom Lead, permission granted. But be advised, she may not be able to respond. Medical status is critical. Lisa switched back to guard frequency and transmitted directly. Raven, this is Phantom. Sarah, if you can hear me, I am here. We are going to get you down safely. Do you remember the mission over Syria? When we ran out of fuel and you talked me through the emergency landing? Now it is my turn. I have got you. Just hold on. In the cockpit, Sarah heard Lisa's voice. Phantom, her friend. Tears leaked from her closed eyes. She tried to speak but could not form words. Instead, she moved her hand again. She tapped out a pattern on her chest where the microphone could pick it up. Tap. Tap tap tap. Tap. Morse code 4 M, L, H. Marcus. Lily. Help. At Nellis, they were recording and analyzing every sound. Colonel, she is transmitting Morse. Letters M, L, H. Colonel Reeves was pulling up the passenger manifest for United 1847. Her eyes scanned the names and suddenly stopped. Marcus Chen. Lily Chen. She pulled up Sarah Chen's personnel file. Spouse, Marcus Chen. Daughter, Lily Chen, date of birth. Oh my God, Colonel Reeves whispered. Her family is on that plane. Her husband and daughter are on board. They think she is dead. The implications were staggering. Lisa transmitted to David. United 1847, listen carefully. I am going to talk you through every single step. You can do this. I have complete confidence in you. For the next 20 minutes, Lisa provided step-by-step guidance. Descending, configuring the aircraft, preparing for approach. Other F-22s joined the formation. Sarah's old squadron members, pilots who had served with her. They flew tight formation around the commercial jet, a visible symbol of protection and honor. David followed Lisa's instructions precisely. His panic had transformed into focused determination. He could not let these people down. They diverted to Denver International Airport, the nearest major facility with long runways and full emergency services. Emergency vehicles staged along the entire runway. Ambulances, fire trucks, medical teams. In the cabin, passengers watched the F-22s in confusion and awe. Why was the military providing escort? One passenger, a young woman who worked in defense contracting, was recording on her phone. She filmed the F-22s flying in formation. She posted it to social media with shaking hands. Military escort for our emergency landing. What is happening? Within minutes, military aviation enthusiasts were analyzing the video. They identified the specific F-22s by their tail numbers. They were from the 422nd Test and Evaluation Squadron, Sarah Chen's old unit. Someone cross-referenced the flight information with the squadron's history. That was Captain Sarah Chen's squadron. Call sign Raven. But she died 5 years ago. This does not make sense. The speculation spread like wildfire across social media. David began the final approach to Denver. His hands were steadier now, guided by Lisa's calm voice. You are doing great, United 1847. Gear down. Flaps to landing position. Airspeed is perfect. You are lined up beautifully. The wheels touch down smoothly. David deployed the thrust reversers and brakes. The massive 777 rolled to a controlled stop. The cabin erupted in applause and tears of relief. United 1847, you are down safe, tower transmitted. Emergency services are approaching. David shut down the engines. The sudden silence was profound. He looked over at Captain Morrison, at Sarah, still unconscious beside him. Thank you, he whispered to her, though she could not hear. Thank you for training me to handle emergencies. Your procedures saved us. Medical personnel rushed aboard. They carefully moved Sarah onto a stretcher, working quickly to stabilize her. As they wheeled her past the cabin toward the exit, Marcus was standing in the aisle with other passengers, waiting to deplane. He glanced at the unconscious pilot on the stretcher. Just a brief look. He saw her face for only a split second. And his entire world stopped. It was impossible. Absolutely impossible. But he knew that face better than his own. It was Sarah. His wife, his Sarah. No, he whispered. No, it cannot be. Sarah. Time seemed to freeze. Everything moved in slow motion. Sarah's eyes fluttered open for just a moment. She turned her head slightly and saw Marcus standing there, his face white with shock. Their eyes met. Just for a second. Just one impossible second. Marcus, she breathed, so quietly only he could hear. Then the medical team rushed her away and she was gone. Marcus stood frozen in the aisle. Lily tugged on his hand. Daddy? Daddy, what is wrong? Marcus could not speak. Could not move, could not breathe. It was impossible. Sarah was dead. He had been to her funeral. Her name was on the memorial wall. But he had just seen her. Alive. Here. Carlos approached Marcus with concern. Sir, are you okay? You look like you have seen a ghost. The pilot, Marcus managed to say. The captain. What was her name? Carlos checked his tablet. Captain Rebecca Morrison. Sir, are you feeling all right? Do you need medical attention? Rebecca Morrison. Not Sarah Chen. But it was her face. He knew his wife's face. Marcus stumbled off the plane in a daze. Lily was frightened by his behavior. Outside, military personnel were everywhere. Dozens of Air Force officers in uniform, security personnel. Colonel Reeves approached Marcus directly. She had been briefed on the entire situation during the flight. Mr. Chen. Marcus Chen. Marcus looked at her, his eyes wild with confusion and shock. Who are you? What is happening? The pilot on that plane. Sir, I need you to come with me. There is something you need to know. Something we need to explain to you. It involves national security and it involves your wife. My wife is dead. She died 5 years ago. No, sir. She did not. They took Marcus and Lily to a secure room at the airport. Lily was frightened and confused. Marcus held her close, his mind reeling. Colonel Reeves sat down across from them. 2 other senior officers were present, along with a government attorney. Mr. Chen, what I am about to tell you is classified at the highest levels. You will be required to sign non-disclosure agreements. But you deserve to know the truth. For the next hour, they explained everything. The mission, the shoot-down, the capture. The 6 months of captivity. The impossible choice Sarah had been forced to make. Marcus listened in stunned silence, tears streaming down his face. She has been alive this whole time, he whispered. For 5 years, she has been alive, and she never contacted me. Never let me know. She was forbidden from making contact, sir. National security required absolute secrecy. And she believed that keeping you and your daughter safe meant staying away from you. But I have been raising our daughter alone. I have been grieving for 5 years. She let me believe she was dead. She had no choice, sir. The alternative was to put you both in danger. She chose to protect you the only way she could, by staying dead. Lily spoke up in her small voice. Is Mommy alive? Is Captain Morrison my mommy? Marcus looked at his daughter, fresh tears falling. Yes, baby. That is your mommy. Your mommy is alive. Can we see her? Colonel Reeves nodded. She is at the hospital now. They are treating her for a severe heart attack. Her condition is critical but stable. You can see her. At Denver General Hospital, Sarah was in intensive care. The heart attack had been severe, but she was going to survive. She was awake when Marcus and Lily arrived, escorted by military personnel. Marcus stood in the doorway of her room, unable to move. Unable to speak. Sarah looked at him, tears streaming down her face. Marcus. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Marcus walked slowly to her bedside. 5 years of grief, of pain, of loneliness, of struggling alone, all of it was in his eyes. You let me believe you were dead, he said, his voice breaking. You let me bury an empty coffin. You let me cry myself to sleep for 5 years. I had no choice, Sarah whispered. They told me that if I contacted you, I would be putting you in danger. That enemy intelligence services would target you to get to me. I could not risk your life or Lily's life. I had to stay away to keep you safe. That should have been my choice to make. I know. I know. And I am so sorry. But I could not risk losing you. I had already lost you once when I was captured. I could not let anything happen to you again. Lily approached the bed slowly. She looked at Sarah with wide, wondering eyes. Mommy? Is it really you? Sarah reached out a trembling hand. Yes, baby. It is really me. I have missed you so much. Every single day. I have thought about you every moment. Lily took her mother's hand. I thought you were in heaven. I wanted to be with you, sweetheart. So badly. But I had to stay away to keep you safe. Marcus was struggling with overwhelming emotions. Anger, relief, joy. Betrayal, love. What happens now? He asked. Do you just disappear again? Do we have to pretend you are dead? Colonel Reeves had followed them into the room. Actually, that is no longer possible. The situation has changed. The biometric match, the F-22 escort, the social media posts, people are already asking questions. Military aviation enthusiasts have identified your old squadron. Your story is already leaking. Sarah closed her eyes. So it is over. The secret is out. Yes. Which means you are officially alive again. We will need to craft a cover story for public consumption. But you can return to your family if you choose. Sarah looked at Marcus. Is that what you want? Can you ever forgive me? Marcus stood silent for a long time. Finally, he spoke. You broke my heart, Sarah. You let me believe I would never see you again. You let me struggle alone. I do not know if I can forgive that quickly. I understand. But, Marcus continued, his voice softening, you are Lily's mother. And I never stopped loving you, even when I thought you were dead. So I am willing to try. For Lily, for us. For the family we were supposed to be. Sarah sobbed with relief. Thank you. Thank you. I will spend the rest of my life making this up to you. Both of you. Lily climbed carefully onto the hospital bed, curling up beside her mother for the first time in 5 years. I missed you, Mommy. I missed you too, baby girl. So much. The story exploded across every form of media within days. Dead pilot returns, fighter ace forced into hiding to protect family. Mother's sacrifice, decorated pilot stayed dead for 5 years for national security. The public response was overwhelming. Some people understood Sarah's impossible choice. Others condemned her for leaving her family. Victoria Blackwood posted a public statement. I mocked Marcus Chen on our flight. I judged him for his appearance. I called him an embarrassment. I did not know that he was a man who had lost his wife, who was raising his sick daughter alone, who was struggling with grief I cannot imagine. And I did not know that the pilot who saved our lives was his wife, returning from the dead. I am ashamed of my behavior. Marcus Chen showed more dignity and strength than I have ever possessed. I am sorry. The Air Force reinstated Sarah to active duty with full honors. But she requested a transfer to non-combat roles so she could be with her family. 3 months later, Lily had her surgery in Boston. Dr. Torres performed it successfully. Within weeks, Lily was healthier than she had been in her entire life. Sarah, Marcus, and Lily slowly rebuilt their family. It was not easy. There was therapy, long conversations, tears, and slow healing. Marcus struggled with trust. Sarah struggled with guilt. But they worked through it together. 1 year later, they renewed their wedding vows in a small ceremony. Lily was the flower girl. Lisa Trent, callsign Phantom, was Sarah's maid of honor. You saved my life once in Syria, Lisa said in her toast. And I got to help save yours over Denver. That is what we do for each other. Always. 5 years after that, Lily graduated from high school at the top of her class. She had been accepted to MIT to study aerospace engineering. I am going to build better planes, she told her mother. Safer planes, planes that bring pilots home. Sarah held her daughter close. I am so proud of you. Marcus stood beside them, his arm around Sarah. The years had healed most of the wounds. Their marriage was stronger than ever. I forgive you, Marcus whispered to Sarah. For leaving, for staying away. I understand why you did it. And I forgive you. Sarah turned to him with tears in her eyes. Thank you. That means everything. They stood together, a family reunited, a family that had survived the impossible. 10 years after the emergency landing, Sarah visited the National Memorial Wall in Washington, D.C. Her name was still there, Captain Sarah Chen, Kia, 2019. But someone had added beneath it, declared Kia 2019. Return 2024. Saved 198 lives. Some heroes refused to die. Marcus stood beside her, holding her hand. Lily stood on her other side, now a young woman working for NASA. Strange. Seeing your name there, Marcus said. Captain Sarah Chen did die, Sarah replied. I became Rebecca Morrison for 5 years. And then I became Sarah again. But different, changed. Do you regret it? Lily asked. The choice you made? Sarah looked at her daughter and husband. I regret the pain I caused you. But I do not regret keeping you safe. I would make the same choice again if it meant protecting you. Even if we never forgave you? Marcus asked. Even then. Your safety is worth any price. Even my own happiness. They walked away from the memorial together. Because Sarah Chen was not defined by her death or her return. She was defined by love. The choice to protect her family above all else.